back. Recent reports that Israel planned to build 307 apartments in East Jerusalem has drawn rare U.S. criticism, with Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice saying the construction would not help build confidence for peace talks. The chief Palestinian negotiator Saeb Erekat said he hopes Washington will be able to play a more positive role over settlement activity as the sole mediator in the peace process.
And I really believe that the Americans should, and we appreciate the statements that came from Dr. Rice, 3 times actually, to say that this is undermining the peace process and undermining the trust. And we hope that when President Bush gets here, he makes sure to the Israelis that you cannot continue business as usual with the settlement activities. You must give peace a chance. You must stop all settlement activities, including natural growth, as specified in the first phase of the roadmap. These are your obligations emanating from the first phase of the roadmap. And the Americans now, after Annapolis, are the judge, are the ones who are supposed to tell the world who's doing and who's not doing.
Well, what can the U.S. do to apply pressure on the Israeli side to halt settlement building? Joining us again are our guests in Jerusalem, Mahdi Abdelhadi, head of the Palestinian Academic Society in Jerusalem. Also in Jerusalem, Danny Seideman, lawyer and expert on Jerusalem. And in Washington, D.C., Paul Sham, scholar at the Middle East Institute. Mr. Sham, if I could start with you in the second half of the show. We've heard what some would say surprising criticism from the U.S. to this settlement activity from Israel. Can the U.S. pressure Israel to stop?
There's no question it can. Of course, the real question is will. And we've already discussed to some degree the the differences within Israel, including within the Israeli cabinet. And of course, the United States, as has been said many times, Israel and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a domestic issue as well. This is heightened by the fact that we're in a presidential campaign. And I think it's important to recognize in figuring what the United States will do is that I don't think that Condoleezza Rice would have gone into this process if she were not willing to apply some sort of pressure, we could use the word, or some sort of encouragement to Israel. What I suspect she will do is try to deal with this in a way of getting Israel's agreement not to do it or to limit it, but also to move into the substance of the negotiations, which is to say that Israeli neighborhoods in Jerusalem, probably including Har Homa, Jebel Abu Ghneim, would be recognized, and this might be one of the first issues.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Why doesn't the U.S. withhold or withdraw aid? This was done before. Surely that will pressure Israel.
Well, it was done before in a special circumstance, and of course it was done, the most notable one was in the Bush 1 administration, and this administration is very, very different. Attitudes in the United States in general, including in Congress and the administration, are supportive of Israel, and the political context here won't allow that to happen. I don't think that that's on the radar for anyone who's making decisions.
Mahdi Abdelhadi, what should Mahmoud Abbas do? Is he under pressure now? Is he right in keeping this at the top of the agenda for any future meeting? Has this left negotiations maybe in complete limbo until it is sorted out, the issue of settlement activity?
The contradictions in the Palestinian position today, they cannot afford to leave the bridge. They have to stay on the bridge, telling the Israelis, you have to stop the annexation and the expansion and the settlement building and meet us halfway to deliver the two-state solution as agreed upon and respect international legitimacy as well as Annapolis. And you are going to share, whether I like it or not, Paris conference and the $7.5 billion by taking more than 30% of it for your own permission and access and import and export. So they need to stay on the bridge. But on the other side, how to address the world, I think the Palestinians are becoming becoming integral part of the Arab House, and they cannot afford to deal with Washington or international arena without the Arab House. With the Americans today, I'm afraid to say Condoleezza Rice as well as President Bush are coming too short, too little, too late to deliver anything, leaving the White House, leaving the presidency, and in the face of the coming election in next January. The position today of Abbas is how to maintain his legitimacy among his people, so he needs to come with a national development plan, not only for Jerusalem, for Palestine, in order to invest the $7.5 billion for improvement the condition of the Palestinians in the prison in terms of water, electricity, sewage, education, and health. We are living in the prison and negotiating with the guard of the prison in the presence and absence of Washington today and tomorrow, as well as the Arab House. If the Arab House will not continue embracing and supporting Abbas' position, representing the Palestinians in this painful transition, I think Abbas will fall down very soon.
Danny Seideman, looking at the bigger picture, does the fact that Israel could go ahead with something like this so soon after Annapolis vindicate those who saw the conference as nothing more than a farce?
I think that remains to be seen. If indeed Israel is able to proceed with unilateral action in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, it will discredit the entire process. I genuinely believe that President Bush and Secretary Rice are genuine in their willingness to engage. There is no necessity for sanctions or economic boycott or anything of that nature. Israel's strategic ally is in Washington. And if Washington does not engage on this Israel, it will be an anti-Israeli move. Friends don't let friends drive drunk. And if Washington lets Israel get away with this, that's exactly what the administration will be doing. The last 7 years of the Intifada have taught us the Palestinians cannot be broken and they can't be bought, but they can be engaged in on a level playing field. That's the issue. And if it's sufficient that the president and the secretary lay down the rules, no pressure, it is saving Israel from itself. It's saving the process, because the only way to end this conflict is very unromantically around a negotiating table and not with the earth-moving equipment that builds settlements in the West Bank.
All right, gentlemen, it's been intriguing hearing your thoughts. Mahdi Abdelhadi, Danny Seideman and Paul Sham, thank you very much for joining us on Inside Story. And thank you so much, the viewer, for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. Bye-bye for now.